Variance. In this module, you will learn about variance. You may know that dispersion about the mean is measured to check how well the mean represents a particular data. If the dispersion of a particular data about the mean is large, the mean is not a representative of the data. If the dispersion of data about the mean is small, the mean represents the given data. One absolute measure of dispersion that describes how far the observations lie from the mean is variance. Let us now learn to compute the value of variance. First, find how far each observation is from the mean. You can find the deviation of each observation from the mean by subtracting the mean from each observation. Now the sum of these deviations is always 0. Thus, it is necessary to change them into positive values. Now square all the deviations to convert them into positive numbers. Now find the sum of the squared deviations. Does this sum provide a reasonable idea about the extent of dispersion? If you consider these two sets of observations and consider the sum of squares of all the deviations in the two sets, you will find that the sum is more for the less scattered data about the mean and vice versa. Thus, the sum of the squares of deviations from the mean does not provide a correct idea about the extent of dispersion. So, how to get a correct idea about the extent of dispersion? Well, just calculate the mean of the squares of deviations. This will tell you what you want to know. The mean of the squares of deviations from the mean is also called variance. Variance is denoted by the symbol sigma square. The higher the value of variance, the greater the dispersion about the mean and vice versa. Since variance is the mean of the squares of distances of observations from the mean, the unit of variance is the square of the units of the observations. If the unit of observations is year, the unit of variance will be year square, which is impossible to represent. This weakness of variance can be overcome by using another measure of dispersion called standard deviation. In this module you have learnt that the mean of the squares of deviations from the mean is called variance. The higher the value of variance, the greater the dispersion about the mean and vice versa. The unit of variance is the square of the units of the observations.